So as often happens, as I was reading this week's Torah portion, I was reminded of a scene from a television show. I am who I am. And this one reminded me of a scene from a television show that I love, but I have heard described as watching paint dry, but I think it's the most interesting paint I've ever seen dry. And that is the show The Crown, which is about Queen Elizabeth. It's not on anymore, but it was wonderful. And in this scene, Queen Elizabeth is meeting with Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher when she notices that Thatcher seems unusually distracted, even on the verge of tears. And when she asks her what's wrong, Thatcher confesses, "My favorite child's Mark, the kind of son any mother would dream of having, has gone missing." I'm not going to do the British accent. No one wants that. And later, Elizabeth reflects on the exchange with her husband, Philip. She remarks on how easily, almost casually, Thatcher referred to Mark as her favorite. "Is that interesting?" Philip asks. "The way she said it was," Elizabeth responds, "without equivocation or thought. Who would do that? Openly admit to preferring one child to another, especially twins?" Philip answers dryly, "Any honest parent." And then he quickly adds that Anne is very obviously his favorite, and he didn't even need a moment to consider it. Elizabeth insists that she does not have a favorite, yet spends the rest of the episode meeting privately with each of her 4 children, embarking on an unspoken journey of self-examination. The scene is striking because it names something deeply human and deeply uncomfortable. We all have preferences. We gravitate towards certain personalities, temperaments, and relationships more naturally than others. Sometimes we project our own ambitions, disappointments, and anxieties onto others, and it has less to do with the individual and more to do with us. It's an inevitable part of being human. But when those preferences are expressed too openly, especially by those in positions of authority, they can cause profound and lasting harm. Favoritism distorts relationships wherever power exists, in workplaces, in classrooms, summer camps, communities. Yet nowhere does it sow more resentment, rivalry, and entitlement than within a family structure. And no story in the Torah captures the destructive force of favoritism more vividly than this week's Torah portion, Vayeshev. As you can imagine, right, this is the story of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. We read, "Now Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he made him an ornamented tunic. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of his brothers, they hated him, so that they could not speak a friendly word to him." Jacob's favoritism is neither subtle nor private. It is public, material, and unmistakable, and it poisons the emotional ecosystem of the household. And while each character in the story bears responsibility for their own actions, it is difficult to ignore the role Jacob plays in setting the tragedy of what will happen in motion. His preferential treatment not only breeds envy among the brothers, it also shapes Joseph's behavior. Who else but a spoiled, entitled child would announce to his family that he dreamed of ruling over them? That would not go well with my sisters. Jacob inflates Joseph's sense of self, which further inflames his brother's jealousy until it curdles into violence. They throw him into a pit and sell him into slavery, a choice the Torah presents as the most humane option that the brothers considered. But the damage does not end there. Rashi suggests that Joseph's character flaws, shaped by Jacob's favoritism, explain why the Israelites ultimately become enslaved in Egypt. And while that reading might feel overly deterministic, it captures an essential truth. Dysfunction rarely remains contained. The ripple effects of favoritism or any other dysfunction extends beyond one relationship, one family, even one generation. And Jacob himself is not immune. His behavior is, in many ways, the inheritance of his own childhood, shaped by the blatant favoritism shown by his parents, Isaac and Rebekah. Vayeshev offers us a sobering moral lesson. How we treat those over whom we hold power, whether as parents, leaders, teachers, or mentors, can cause harm that reverberates far beyond our intentions. As we read our Torah portion this week, we are invited to examine our own patterns, to ask where our words, actions, or silences may have betrayed preference rather than fairness. May we cultivate the self-awareness to notice our conscious and unconscious biases, the humility to course correct when we make a mistake, and the humanity to treat every person with kavod, respect, dignity, and love. And together we say, Amen.